P.J.Olsson is currently the lead singer for the Alan Parsons Live Project. He has 5 released albums. He has toured with various artists over his lifetime, including Kid Rock, Muse, Train, Rufus Wainwright, Iggy Pop, Beth Orton, Bob Geldof, and Harper, Nelly Furtado, Placebo, Michelle Branch, and many, many others. Olson also produces and writes for other artists and writes songs for movies, TV, and advertising. Today, let's please welcome musician, singer, songwriter, producer, composer, and Grammy Award winner, P.J. Olsson, to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, BJ.
Hey there, how are you?
Good, man.
All right,
You got to
right.
go over to your last few months because I know you've been very, very busy.
Has been crazy.
What's been going on?
Well, the first thing for the last few months, I just did a month-long tour with Alan Parsons
Right.
over in Turkey, Spain, and other countries too. And before that, I was singing for a group called Pink Floyd Legacy
Mm-hmm.
over there. We did 15 countries or so, and was very fortunate to get all the David Gilmour parts, which is just kind of perfect for my voice, and
Perfect.
get to avoid the Roger screaming parts. And I only thought I was going to be doing that for 6 weeks, but things ended up going really well, and I ended up being there for 8 months. And
Wow.
yeah, and before that, I was with Alan, and anytime that I'm not singing, I'm usually in the studio working on music.
You also did the Brit Floyd, or you were a guest, I guess, on Brit Floyd for a while too, right?
Yes, for the last couple of years, I've been a guest at a few shows with Brit Floyd.
Right.
We did Red Rocks, and very cool to just kind of go in there and only have to sing 2 songs, which was "Wish You Were Here" and "Comfortably Numb." And and then just recently, Alan and I did a 5 dates opening up for Brit Floyd for 35 minutes or so, just playing like 5 or 6 Alan classics.
Right.
And on those particular gigs, we ended up using Brit Floyd as the band.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fabulous.
I like Alan. I've had Alan on the show. He's a really great guy, very interesting person, incredible musician and songwriter. It's got to be a thrill for you to be working with them.
It is a thrill, and both as a singer, but as well the first 15 years or so being his engineer, and yeah, I have learned a buku amount of studio stuff, and as well live, how to interpret a crowd, very much from Alan.
Was that a little bit intimidating when you first engineered for Alan Parsons? Because, his background with Dark Side.
It you know I think it's more intimidating now.
Hmm.
I think back then I had a little bit of the youth armor on, and being so young and secure, I kind of went in there and was uh, very secure in the way that we worked. And then along the way is probably when I was like, whoa, I'm really in here. The next thing you know, we're doing sessions with choirs and different mixing stuff where there's 160 tracks, and I ended up a few times being like, whoa, this is over my head. But he was always kind enough to guide me through it.
I went to broadcasting school. I learned the board. I was a top 40 DJ back in the late 70s. But the board you guys work as you engineer, I can't imagine working that thing, man.
Yeah, there's some pretty amazing boards out there. Alan right now has a Rupert Neve Designs 5088 in his studio,
Hmm.
and it is a tool of perfection for recording. And I've been on that board for a few years, even before Alan had gotten his board. And now in my Airstream studio, I have a modular kind of version of the 5088, and it's extremely wonderful gear to work on. And You know, you just touch little bits and little pieces, and just the high end is just the right amount of high end, and the way they choose it, and it's very, it's especially Rupert Neve in particular was always very musical with his
Hmm.
audio designs.
Have they condensed the board? I mean, today, you got Pro Tools, you got all these things that you can use. Is there a way to condense the board in a recording studio?
There is, you know, as an example, in my studio in the Airstream, which is small, I use what's called a 5066 kind of center brain board
Hmm.
that gives me a bunch of transformers, and then I use different preamps over on my left side that has other Rupert Neve stuff in it, and in general, it's even the board that Alan has it's a big board.
Hmm.
There's a lot to it. It's very simple. It looks very ominous when you first look at it,
Right.
but then you realize that primarily, if you know one track, you know all the tracks. There are things that we do nowadays where uh, some people mix in the box, which means that you're mixing your audio within the computer and only using the input and output of the computer,
Hmm.
and then getting it out of the box is something that both Alan and I do quite often, where we're bringing the mix up on a various amount of sub channels that enable us to get the sound of that board and have a little bit more control and not always be limited to just being in the box. Although I will also say that in the last few years, just being in the box is absolutely incredible, and technology moving forward the way that it does. I think there's some great opportunities to get out of always having a studio as well.
Hmm. Well, I got to ask you, what do you think about AI?
Well, I, I'm, I, I'm, I guess I'm hesitant towards the creative side of AI, although I have witnessed it do some pretty incredible things. Uh, I think that using the Beatles as an example, being one of the biggest bands in the world, that I found when their AI song came out, it didn't quite have the emotion that I expected a Beatles song to grab me with. And I think that had a little bit to do with AI. I will say also that I'm a believer in that whatever creates emotion out of the listener or out of somebody, whether it's done by hand or by a forger or whatever it is, if it
Hmm.
creates the emotion, then probably there's something that's valuable there. I guess I could probably, in a mathematical way, see that AI could be a great advantage for mastering
Sure.
when when you're done with all the creative work and you're done with six people in a room and you've talked to those six people. I don't believe that AI can replace five or six beautiful musicians in a room. I don't think that's a possibility. I do think that maybe in the future there could be a place where there's five or six musicians. They might not know exactly what to do, they're not playing right together, and they go, hey, let's ask AI, and
Hmm.
they put in a little question and out spurts a unique chord pattern.
Right.
That I think there could be advantages to that, and my mind is open to it.
Well, it comes in real handy for music videos. You don't have to pay somebody a lot of money to create a video, you know?
Yeah, that is the case. I again, there's just as much as on Facebook now, where I'll see a post and I really can't tell if it's AI or not, and being in that wonderment does pose a threat to emotion.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll get solved, and by the time that gets solved, maybe AI will take over the world. We don't know, but yeah, I embrace it.
Yeah, me too. I've done three music videos because I'm promoting my new book. It's called The Liberty Code. It's a
Yes.
sci-fi, political, military thing, and it's done a hell of a job. I mean, the music it created, it's like a movie score is what I did.
All right. Did you
And
narrate it too?
AI can narrate it too. But I've got a voice. I
Yes,
created a
of course.
voice, you know, but it's a voice. that I could probably learn to do if I had a teacher, you
Uh-huh.
know. So if it ever got popular and they wanted me to sing it, I, I could give it a shot.
Well, I'd imagine that there are certain careers like voiceovers, for instance,
Right.
in commercials and hotels and advertising and things like that. I
Yep.
would imagine that a lot of those people are out of work right now
They
because of
are.
AI, and that
Yep.
kind of stinks. That's a
Yeah.
bummer.
I mean, I did that. I went to broadcasting school with CBS to learn voice, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I got to tell you, it's cheap. You know, you don't pay a lot of money for that service, you know.
yeah.
So what can I
Well,
tell you?
cheap can be good right now because
Yeah,
yeah, the money thing is crazy.
I know. PG, I just want to say I'm so sorry to hear about your son, Remy. Man, I read about that. You know, I'm a family man like you are. I've got an older son. Um, he was very connected into the music as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he was an incredible musician. Started off playing classical piano, then went to drums, and then went to kind of DJing and producing. He grew up in the studio with me,
Right.
and even went out on the road with Alan and would fill in as an assistant stage manager or running spotlights or
Mm.
doing whatever. But he had a massive, just a massive amount of talent, and he was also super smart, very easily super smart. Which I have to work at being smart.
Me too.
But yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, and I know that you're sorry because it's the worst freaking club to be in possible, and nothing changes. You'd think that I guess time is a band-aid a little bit because I can at least discuss Remy and talk about him with a
Right.
smile and keep him close. But it's an incredibly difficult thing to live minute to minute with.
I can't even imagine. My son is uh what is he, 36 now, I guess. He travels all over the country with his work, and I'm always thinking about him, and I call him up and say, "Where are you today?" "I'm in
Yeah,
Texas. I'm here. I'm there," you know. So, yeah, we're very, very close. But you grew up in a musical family, which is cool.
I did. I was very fortunate to grow up with a father that had his doctorate in 12 tone, a mom
Wow.
that had a major in music and a major in education, and a major in voice. Uh, Both my brothers, older brothers, my oldest being 9 years older than me, and my middle brother being 5 years older than me, uh, they were both kind of, especially my older brother, might have been the test child for my parents. And by the time it got to me, creativity and music was such a large part of our family that probably at 4 or 5 years old, I just kind of fell into it with an incredible amount of support from every family member. And even all my teachers growing up, they kind of always pointed me in the direction that they knew I'd be singing and
Hmm.
writing and working in the music somehow or another.
That's so great that you had that support because, you know, when you're a teenager and you say, "I want to do music," you know, the first thing your parents are going to say, "What are you, crazy? You're not going to make any
Yeah,
money."
yeah. I think there's a joke my mom used to say, and it's like, "Hey, hey, mom, when I grow up, I'm going to be a musician." And the mom says, "You can't do both."
That's funny.
Yeah, but very, very supportive, and all the way even to this day. I just was on the phone with my mom, and she pretty much gets on. She's 86 now, and
Oh,
she
God
still
bless her.
gets, yeah, she still gets online
Yeah,
and finds videos of, like, she was like, I was just, my mom has a super thick German accent.
right.
I was just watching a show from Istanbul, and Alan had this beautiful red shirt with the stripes on it. And oh, PJ, she's telling me all this stuff, and yeah, she still gets on and checks things out as much as she still goes out in the backyard and pulls her kayak out and goes out for miles
You're
at
kidding me.
86. No,
Wow. Oh
no,
my
she still
goodness.
skis. She still skis 30 days a year, and
Wow.
and yeah, we lost my dad a couple years ago,
Hmm.
and there's been some adjustments for her, but her strength is unparalleled.
Where does she live?
She lives up in Houghton, Michigan.
Oh, okay. Gets cold
Yeah,
up
in a
there.
place
Yeah.
called it's about as far north as you can get in Michigan. There's a little bit farther on the Keweenaw Peninsula that you can get up there with Calumet and Copper Harbor.
Hmm.
Uh, Mom lives in a beautiful place on the lake, and
Nice.
yeah, just it's amazing because she taught for so long that when you go out in the town that we're in, almost anyone you meet, she'll say, "But that was my third grade student." It doesn't matter where
That's
you go.
that's cool.
Yeah.
My daughter's a teacher, and so is my son-in-law.
And how
Yeah.
old is your daughter?
Gosh, she's gonna be 40.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
crazy, man. I'm telling you. I got 5 grandkids. Yeah.
Wow. Good for you.
They grow quick. They really do.
Yeah. I
Uh,
don't have any grandkids yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And
just you wait.
yeah. Well, I actually can't wait. I look forward to
Yeah. Your life's gonna change. You're gonna spoil the hell out of them, man. I'm
it.
telling you.
I will.
I saw you on your Letterman appearance, which is very, very cool, back in your younger day.
Yes.
But the album that you made, Visine, it was, I think it was called Beautifully Insane was the name of the album, right?
Yeah.
And Visine you played on Letterman. That's a great album, by the way,
Beautifully Insane. Yeah, Visine ended up on two records. It ended
right?
up on actually on three. It ended up on an EP that Columbia put out on C2, and then it ended up on a record called Words for Living,
Hmm.
which, in particular, with Words for Living, it never quite made it in the store at the time that it was supposed to make it in the store when
Right.
I was doing Letterman and things like that. So it's kind of like some business stuff that happened in there. But in
Yeah.
general, I was always super fortunate to have record guys that really believed in me. One in particular, Tim Devine, who was always kind of in my corner at Columbia and Sony, where Sony Columbia was a little, they didn't quite know what to do with me. They didn't understand having computers and drum machines on stage in those years. So
Hmm.
it was always a battle, but I'm not an artist that like uh, completely trashes record labels because they provided a crapload of options and
Hmm.
opportunity for me. Uh, and probably the 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 reason for not selling as many records as I would have liked probably boils down to me as an artist in the end, and maybe lacking the maturity that I needed in songwriting then to really hit on something, which is something that you just continue to try to write and try to make something that really uh, equals you, if I could say that.
You're a great songwriter, man. That album's incredible. I mean, I think my
Thank you.
favorite song was 3 Light Years and a Day.
That's a very cool song.
Yeah.
Actually, the guys that I wrote that song with, Emerson Swinford and John Fremgen,
Hmm.
or excuse me, Emerson Swinford and Guy Erez, are two people that I've worked with to this day. Guy is currently the bass player with Alan,
Hmm.
and in particular Emerson Swinford, and then the bass player I just mentioned, John Fremgen. I've been playing with those guys for 30 years, and they're
Wow.
they're still playing on my records to this day.
It's funny because Tomorrow sounds a little bit, the intro sounds like Alan Parsons Project. So,
Yeah, there,
so,
there's, there's, there are, Alan was a huge influence on me growing up. Pink
mhm.
Floyd, Alan Parsons,
Yep.
Depeche Mode, Howard Jones, King Crimson.
Yep.
Uh, there's a lot of influence there, especially in Alan's case in arrangement and fidelity. Uh, I just kind of, my dad being a classical guy and being an orchestra conductor, we didn't have a Jimi Hendrix record in our,
Hmm.
because he didn't like the way they sounded. They sounded a little dirty to him.
Right.
I got introduced to Jimmy much later in my life, 20, 23 years old, by other musicians. But growing up, there was always a record like Supertramp or
Hmm.
something that sounded sound file, like just
Right.
really, really great music. And then also grew up with a lot of Yasha Heifetz and Brahms.
Oh yeah, those are the original prog guys.
They are, aren't they?
They are. And of course, you struck gold with the whistle song, with the Starburst commercial.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I didn't know that checks came in the mail like that. And
Mm.
I probably should have been wiser when those checks were coming, and instead of like getting a check and being like, "All right, all kids, get in the car. We're going to get you new ski equipment." I
There
probably
you
should have been
go.
like, "I should probably like plan my retirement or something." But I didn't. And that song in particular was an interesting song. I was working with a guy named Rick Boston at the time. I think he had a band called the Januaries in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
Um, Incredible producer and writer. And at that point, we had worked on 8 or 9 songs, 10 songs together, and they were all pretty much like me pouring my heart out. And he said, "That's it. Um, we're going to the King's Head, which is like a bar or something like that in Santa Monica, right around the corner."
Right.
And I had 3 black and tans, 3 of them, which is a lot for someone
Hmm.
like me. And we went back to the studio, and he was like, "Okay, right." And he gave me some directions that he had used the previous day to get
Hmm.
to another studio, and that's where "Get yourself off, take a left at Verdugo." And he put a little paper swan on the mic stand, and I just started whistling and writing these words and writing these melodies, and
Amazing.
he immediately just kind of captured it. And then we made the whistle repeat, and before we knew it, we had this song that Tim loved, the record label loved,
Hmm.
and yeah, it created a lot of opportunity. But it wasn't something that most of the time I was sitting down and really pouring the heart out. Just sometimes in Los Angeles, I also had another song that's never been released, and actually I'm going to probably do an acoustic version of it in the next couple of weeks here. But it was called AT&T. And
Hmm.
it was a disgruntled song that I kind of swear at AT&T, and I'll make sure to send it to you when I play it. But there's plenty of times that I do a gig at the Viper Room or Luna Park or something, and
Right.
I get it before I even got on stage. There'd be a bunch of people going AT&T, and they'd be like, "What about the other songs? Like the ones that I'm crying and pouring my heart out?" They're like, "No way, man, AT&T, Visine." It's like, okay, I'll do those. So I look forward to getting the acoustic guitar out now that I've been
Sure.
and I'll send you a version of that.
Okay. Is there going to be another acoustic, another solo album from you coming up?
Uh, there is,
Good.
I have. It's interesting. I've been working on a record for about 4 years. A lot of it is inspired by a combination of losing Remy and
Hmm.
and finding spirit in the world and God and things like that. But
Sure.
it's by no means a depressing. Almost all the songs are actually um, they're very they feel really good.
Hmm.
I don't know why, but some of them sound like Burt Bacharach to me.
Really?
Yeah, and like with this particular record, I wrote almost all the songs on piano instead of acoustic guitar, and not with a lot of crazy programming. I used to sometimes start with loops and let the loops kind of lead the way on
Hmm.
how arrangement and melody would work, because I'd hear a loop and then sing to it. With this particular song, there was definite or record, there was definitely more times that I had melodies and piano chords. My piano playing isn't necessarily the best, so I have to really work with how a melody and using like suspensions by using the bass line wrong. Sometimes I'll make a suspension happen by not using the root note in the bass of a chord, and all of those things ended up turning into a record that I think I've recorded almost 38 songs right now, 40
Oh,
songs,
wow. Huh.
which are not all going to be. I won't like release a 5 CD record thing. I'll probably, especially with what happens with my time is between singing for Alan and singing for other Floyd tribute things. I end up being gone a lot, and it's amazing. You come back and you think you're going to go right back into recording, and it takes days to kind of like,
of course,
get it to set in. Not to mention, if you're gone for 9 months, you come back and you got to update everything.
it's tough. It is tough. Yeah. You also did a song for Dawson's Creek, "Ready for a Fall," right?
I did.
Yeah.
That was a real good breakthrough at that point in my career too, because it was featured back then. They would put out like a CD that had 10 songs that were featured on Dawson's Creek.
Right.
So there was actual Dawson's Creek CD, and at that time, Paula Cole had a hit song that happened to be on Dawson's Creek. So that record went out and sold quite a few records. Yeah. And because of that, quite a few people ended up hearing that song. And that opened up a lot of opportunities for touring and different places that took me in a real good direction.
Are you still writing for movies and TV?
Well, I after my deal with Columbia Sony, I ended up on Brash, and then I ended up with a guy named Larry Jenkins at CBS Records, and he was kind of kindling CBS Records as a soundtrack and vestibule or whatever you want to call it. Right. So I did that particular year. I did a lot for soundtracks, Ghost Whisperer and other movies. And I guess what happens with me is not necessarily that I write in particular for something, but I think that when I put my music together and I combine acoustic with a vocal that's soft and delays, and there's certain layerings that I do that just, I think they're appealing to television and advertising. So I hope in this day and age that as I put out new music that people in advertising and movies will give me some sync fees, because there's not a lot of ways to make money from music anymore.
How does that process happen? Say there's a commercial out there. They're looking for music. How do you hook up with them? How do they listen to your music?
Well, I can use the Starburst ad as an example.
Right. Okay.
That particular ad, the director of the ad was kind of a fan of mine, and I was unknown, but he was listening on his Walkman while he was making the video. He was making it to the Whistle song. The Whistle song had not been chosen for the Starburst ad yet. So when they went into editing of that, they were looking for music, and the director came back and said, well, why don't you just use the music that I was listening to when we shot it? Because everything will kind of sync up. And sure enough, it did. And that created the opportunity for me to actually be placed in that ad. Otherwise, I mean, I think it's a real kind of crapshoot that you just hope that what you have kind of represents something that someone else needs.
Because you can be listening to some of your repertoire and all of a sudden say, this sounds like a commercial. This sounds like and what do? Submit it to the company or?
Well, yeah, they're not necessarily that I submit it, but between maybe publishers and different connections that happen in the old music business, or A&R people, sometimes with management, you never know who, sometimes an attorney might have a connection. I try to keep my eyes and heart open to anyone that has opportunity that forms a place that I can make a business out of music.
And me and you have a friend connection with David
Manassian.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him.
Very interesting guy, and incredible songwriter, and kind of hidden talent uh,
Hmm.
that where he's also in the film industry, and just hanging out with him and dabbling is always a privilege. And when we do hang out actually quite a bit, and we always he's very quick witted,
Hmm.
and so we always end up laughing a lot when David and I are hanging out.
Yeah, I'm going to use him for one of my projects in the future, I think.
Cool.
He already said he'd do it. Um, I, I read a comment on Facebook about you, and I think it was from Visine. But somebody wrote, and I thought this was interesting. They said, I went to high school with P.J.Olsson. I was a total outcast, and he was the coolest guy in school. And he was still really nice to me. What a great guy. I wish him the best.
Hmm.
I thought that was cool, you
That
know?
is really really cool. I'd like to know who said that actually. If there's her name there,
I didn't see a name. Whatever I have, I'll send it, I guess, to Trinity, and she can pass it on to you.
I definitely was not the coolest guy in school.
Okay.
I definitely wasn't that. I will say that because of my parents and their open nature, I was raised with a lot of love and security,
Hmm.
which enabled me to kind of fit into a lot of cliques. I was friends with all the athletes. I was in choir. I was in band. I was always in theater. I loved art, but I also loved science, and had a large crossing of
Yeah,
friends up where I grew up. There's the university kind of professors' kids, and well, it
right.
was then. Now it's a much smaller world with the internet. But back then, without that, there was kind of a local scene and the professor scene and the people that worked at the hospital. And sometimes those scenes didn't cross, but for me, they almost always crossed. That could have been as well related to pot and marijuana that back then in the early '80s and middle '80s and stuff like that. That pot was a gateway to a
Hmm.
lot of different friendships. Not a gateway to other drugs, but I mean it was a gateway to a lot of different friendships that I had that would cross over. And uh, that makes me happy though, hearing a comment
Hmm.
like that, because I really did go out of my way to be kind, and still kind of go out of my way at a grocery store or something like that
Sure.
to try to make the best of every minute.
You're kind of like me. I consider myself a chameleon. I get along with everybody. I
Good.
don't. You can be rich, poor. It doesn't matter. I'm there with you. I
Yeah,
transform into that person.
yeah. I think the hardest thing for me to be around now is someone that whether it is just somebody that's not pure.
Hmm.
I definitely, and that'll happen, especially now that I'm older. You get out on tour, and you'll find yourself in a room, and before you know
Right.
it, you'll already have a vibe. When I was younger, I think my love vibe kind of pushed and created an armor. I think I
Right.
said that before. Nowadays, my armor is stronger, but there's not as much of it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I tend to have a lower threshold for bullshit.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't like liars. I can't stand
It
that.
drives me crazy.
Me
Yeah,
too. And when
yeah,
you know they're lying,
yeah.
and it's like, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, I definitely there's I get a lot of interesting experiences, and
Oh yeah,
and,
in
and
your
keep
business,
learning.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I keep learning every year.
Yeah. I tell you, man, I've interviewed probably close to 1,000 people, and I've never had one battle. Everybody's been so nice, cooperative, no liars. They tell the truth. It's so cool. I'm so fortunate in that way. You know,
Yeah, well, you get to be on the good side of a lot of people's honest stories then.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's good
And
journalism.
and I'm not one of those guys that will publish anything bad. And I never give anybody a bad review on an album. Never.
Well, that's very interesting too, because I think that's a good concept. I actually just last week, someone got on an Alan Parsons fan site thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they made a comment on my voice. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and someone made a comment on my voice where like, look at this clown jumping around all over the place, and man,
Oh
he
God.
sucks.
Oh my
This guy
God.
sucks. And you try to have those things bounce off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, I don't know what it is that my mom will always tell me too, like, oh my God, there's so many nice things that people are saying about you. But for some reason, when I go and
Yeah,
look,
I know.
I like get the one bad comment,
I
and
know.
it's like being like, it's like getting stabbed in your hotel room, and it kind of like it's a stab with a punch. It knocks the air out, and then there's a real pain that goes along with it, and there's it sometimes it can make you feel real invalid very, very fast.
You can't
And
let it though. You
yeah,
can't.
well, I know
You know?
I don't let it,
Yeah.
but almost always in the second that I find it, it takes a few hours for me to kind of
I know.
come out of the bad comments, which also I realize, you know, that there I of course there's going to be, especially in the classic rock world, people that are used to those songs,
Mm-hmm.
especially being sung by someone as brilliant as Eric Wolfson or Lenny
Right.
Zakatak, who I'm completely a fan of everybody
Mm-hmm.
that had anything to do with Alan Parsons. And right now I'm actually honored and try to do my very best to sing his music the way that he wants it to be sang. So uh, I I take those things, and even the bad comments, I do take and try to turn my performance self into having a
Right.
positive head.
PJ, it happens to me too. I've had people say I'm a lousy interviewer. You know, I do a lot of homework on every
No,
interview. I don't
yeah,
get paid for this, you know, and there's always one clown, you know, that'll say, you know, a comment, you know, and like, what are you going to do? I give up. I don't care anymore.
yeah, and you know, there are comments, and there are people as well that go out of their way
Destroy people.
to destroy. Yeah, to destroy. There are people,
They're
and
jealous. They're jealous. Yeah.
well, if they're jealous or they're being negative is the thing that gives them their security,
Right.
then there's you know we can there's probably with what you're saying that you got to let it bounce off of you. I think that those are the times that you really do have to let it bounce off of
Yep.
you, as difficult as that is.
I never liked Rolling Stone magazine because they destroyed a lot of people. They, you know, they would just come out. I've had legendary musicians that still are upset about some of the things Rolling Stone has said in the past. And especially now, they just suck now. They lost it. You know, they're nothing about rock. You know, they don't focus on, I don't know why they got so much PR because I think they're horrible. And, you know, that this is my say so. I don't like Rolling Stone magazine. I never did.
I don't know what Rolling Stone is anymore
Right.
today. Uh,
Doesn't
growing
really
up,
exist too much anymore. You know,
yeah,
it's not
growing
this.
up for me, it was like a magazine that we didn't have a subscription for it at all in our family.
Hmm.
And when we go to Minneapolis to buy our school clothes, we'd usually stop by a record store, grab a few new vinyl records,
Right.
and normally they'd have a Rolling Stone in there, which would be the one Rolling Stone that my family would read for about 9 months then. 10 months. So the only thing you'd really know about was that 1 month. And, and outside of that, you know, even back then too, I didn't have Keyboard Magazine or Guitar Magazine
Mm,
or
right.
any of those things. I remember one time, maybe I was 12 or 13, and I hand wrote a letter to Yamaha, and I found an address and I sent it, and I just asked them to send me any pamphlets they had on all of their keyboards. And it was really interesting. A big envelope, like a month later, came in the
Cool.
mail, and it was a big old envelope from like someone corporate who got my letter and loved it. That like some kid had written cursive and said, "Hey, please send us all the pamphlets on your synthesizers." and And yeah, I had that envelope with me for probably, I'd say, a year, that I carried it around and would just read the stats, on those synthesizers and keyboards, like every day. Like, what does this one do? This is FM synthesis. This is cross wave synthesis, or just
Right.
trying to
Well,
know
the
more.
the big question, PJ, is how much Yamaha equipment do you own now?
Well, I do love Yamaha. I have a Yamaha guitar.
Hmm.
Um, let's see, do I have anything else Yamaha? I don't. The DX7 was a huge part of my life for a while.
Right.
I as well had, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was a Yamaha synthesizer that was expensive and big and had beautiful oscillators, and it had wood on the side. If someone's out there, they could drop me a note of what that keyboard was, or I'd have to Google it. Grew up with a Prophet 5 and a sequential circuit 6-track sequencer. Um, just always loved all the keyboards, and as well, Dad had a couple of really cool 2-track tape decks, reel to reel. And when I was, I'd say 8 or 9, he had already taught me how to edit and
Hmm.
cut out an angle and how
Yep.
to tape things back together. So back
I
then,
did that in radio.
yeah, it was really cool. Back there was quite a few shows that I did. I'd say when I was maybe 14 or 15, that my backing was synthesizer programming that I did on
Hmm.
the tape decks, and then I had a couple background vocals, and had like I think I had, like, on my belt, I had like a delay champ and
Right,
a
right.
chorus pedal and a big reverb pedal that then I would like hit with my hand to turn on. And back then, especially at 13, I was playing at a place called the Library Bar in Houghton. So third floor, way up on the top, big college hangout. And I could clear that room out in one song. I could, like, everyone would leave. The room would be packed when I started. And,
Right.
with all the delays, and people were going like, what is that music? Like, what is that? And but I tell you, the two people who would be there at the very end of my show, an
Hmm.
hour and a half later, would be my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, great show,
Yeah.
great show.
Way to go, son. That's funny. I tell you, man, nobody could do Alan Parsons and sing those great songs like you can. I want to make that comment. And
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. And again, it's an honor for me to even take a crack at it, and doing it this long is super, super cool. I feel incredibly honored to have,
Mhm.
like, a just the other day, actually, on stage, Alan was like, he introduced me to the Brit Floyd crowd. He said, "Oh, and one of my best buddies for 22 years or something." And I thought to myself, my God, that's a really long time to be a creative partner with somebody. And I I I value that very, very, very much.
Have you been there longer than Eric now, or not yet?
I am currently the longest
There you
creative
go.
standing member that Alan has worked
There you
with.
go. That
And
says it all right there.
I'll take that back, actually, because Alan still does work with David Pack from Ambrosia,
Right, right.
and David Pack goes back to Alan's younger years,
Hmm.
very, very much. So there, David is as well another creative person. Actually, David is how I got my job with Alan.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, I started with Alan as an engineer, not as a singer.
Right.
And David Pack and I had the same manager at that time. His name was Will Sharp. And they were talking about Alan Parsons. And my manager was like, "Hey, the artist I work with loves Alan Parsons." And David Pack was like, "You mean the Visine guy? Like the guy who writes about weed and all that?" And Will was like, "Yeah, he's a tremendous engineer and programmer
Hmm.
and all that." And I got the call, and and Will was like, "Alan Parsons wants you to come up and engineer for him."
Wow.
So I went up, and yeah, those were some exploratory weeks. I went up for one day, ended up staying for 3 weeks.
Hmm. Didn't
Yeah.
you guys? meet at Abbey Road or something?
We did not meet at Abbey Road. I
No.
met Alan at his house on Tunnel Road in Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I don't know where I heard that, but probably
No, I
heard it
would have
somewhere.
loved to have met Alan at Abbey Road. That would have been very cool.
Is Time a tough song to sing? It sounds like it would be.
Um, you know, for my range, it's it's probably not I can't say one of the easier songs to sing because none of his songs are easy.
Right.
Time is what's the word I'm looking for? When you slow down the tempo to something that's slow enough that everything has a lot of meaning in
Hmm.
comparison to being at 140 beats per
Right.
minute, where
Right.
a song can whip by you and it can have a fancy bass line. Uh, there's a lot of emotion in the open with a song like Time, and uh, it is the chorus is high
Hmm.
for that's why I sing it in falsetto, which is a style of singing that's a little bit high oriented in the voice rather than a head voice or a
Right.
tenor baritone voice. So I tend to fall into that, and yeah, as especially as I get older. Granted, this last set of shows I just did, my voice was better than ever.
Good.
Um, but then I immediately got off the road and uh, always am battling some. You can. I'm just like a nasal.
Hmm.
Like I'm always got allergies and look at this. Look at all these my nose and
How do you keep your voice in shape? I mean, is there a remedy or
well, I don't I don't smoke cigarettes.
good?
That was a hard thing to get past, and I have.
Yeah.
Uh, I do my best to most importantly really do vocal exercises
Hmm.
before and after I sing. Almost 2 hours before a show, I'm already doing stuff that all goes all the way back to my mom teaching me how to sing when I was a kid. But
Right.
as well, now many years later, I've probably had 10 or 12 different vocal coaches and
Oh,
even
good.
taught. I've even taught voice for
Hmm.
it for a few years, and so there's like a real maintenance thing that I've
Hmm.
learned how to do. Um, so there's that. In the last, I will say that in the last couple months, I did kind of let go of the pot thing quite a bit, and that really helps with singing. Although I would never actually smoke pot and do a show. I don't think I've done that since I
Well,
was.
definitely stay away from the bong.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, I don't think I've smoked pot and done a show since I was 23 years old.
Right. Right.
Like that's how long it would have been
Right.
ago that I would have even attempted doing something like that. Nor would I have an enjoyment
Mm.
of being that way because that's even something that you learn with drinking, and I do my best to not drink, and usually I'm pretty darn successful, and have found that the times that you do drink, you might have a shot before a show.
Right.
When you make a mistake and you're 4 songs in and you think to yourself on stage, you're like, shit, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have had that shot before I went on. And when you go on without drinking or anything and you make a mistake, you don't you don't kill yourself. You're not like, oh my God. It's
Right.
always just like, hey, wait, I made a mistake.
Right.
And it's completely allowed actually.
Sure.
Striving for too much perfection can be grueling. So I don't let the mistakes I make bother me. And most of the mistakes that I make are lyrical, and
Hmm.
like where I sing the wrong lyrics at the wrong spot. Uh, I've had some foreign languages kind of come out of my mouth, like
That's funny.
where you don't quite know. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at the bass player. He's looking at me like, what the hell are you singing right now? I'm like, I don't know what the word, and the words are right there in front of me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I can't see them
And
or
the audience doesn't know. They're just going, yeah.
well, I hope that's what's happening, you know?
That's funny. Yeah, the older you get, smoking weed, you get more paranoid too, I think. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. There's definitely a lot of baggage that goes
Oh
along with it.
yeah.
And not to say that I'm against it, and I think that I'll probably dabble when I know I don't have to sing for
Right,
weeks.
right.
And even at that, I think I did try it at the end of our last tour. I was like, okay, I did the whole tour. And then when I did it, I was like, hello,
Yeah.
so I felt super uncomfortable
Yeah,
and
make
all
sure
that.
you do a gummy.
Yeah.
Do a gummy.
Well, I've got gummy stories too.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Those are the sometimes that can be the worst. That's a real commitment.
yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I can't those days though with the bong, man, and the bong water and putting ice in the bong and oh man, so
Yeah,
harsh. So
it was,
harsh,
it
you
was
know?
yeah, that's definitely a very large, long part of my life. Uh,
Coughing
is
your brains out.
coughing and just as well at having like the whole pot mentality
Yeah.
and wearing Guatemalan clothing and lots of wrist guard lip things and
Yeah, me
ankle
too.
bracelets and all that and I still have fun with
Yeah,
bracelets and things like that, but yeah, it's much more of a commitment nowadays.
it is. It really is. All right, here's a question I ask everybody.
Okay.
I get some very interesting answers. Okay.
Okay.
If you had a Field of Dreams wish like the movie, that's one of my favorite movies, to perform or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be? And we already know about Alan, so it's got to be somebody else.
I would immediately probably go with Peter Gabriel.
Oh, good. Good answer.
Yeah,
Very
I'd,
good answer.
I'd immediately go with Peter Gabriel. I did have a chance that I got to have breakfast with him. We
Cool.
were, we were performing in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria, for the
Wow.
president of Bulgaria, and Peter Gabriel's Duduk player. There's like
Mm-hmm.
a famous Duduk player that played like on the Titanic, played on a lot of his records, and that they happened to be at the show. And I was singing for Alan, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking in the front row, and there's Peter Gabriel, right? And
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And after the show, he immediately came and talked to me and gave me some really nice compliments that just I couldn't even fathom that I was talking to him, and I was just pumped that he would come up to me and tell me such wonderful things about my performance. And the next morning at breakfast, I'm there at the breakfast table by myself, was up early, and there's a little knock on my shoulder. And I look, and he says, PJ, may I join you for breakfast? And
Oh,
I said,
wow.
and this is what I
Jeez.
said. I said, geez, Peter Gabriel, of course you can. Like
That's
I
funny.
actually was like, of course. And he sat down and he had like 3 books with him that he was reading, like actual physical books. And
Hmm.
I remember the waitress came over and he kind of looked at her like, and what do you do here? Like what and what is this specimen? Like, and he was in. Yeah, we hung out for a couple hours and
That's
talked,
cool.
and it's
That's
probably one
cool.
of the things I always kind of beat myself in the head because I'm not the biggest. What is it called when you're really good at socializing and sharing your telephone number and emails and things like that? That's not
Networking? No.
networking.
Networking?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm the worst networker
Really?
ever. And that particular day was one day that I shouldn't have said, "Oh, well, I know him now. I've been with him for 2 hours. I don't
Yeah.
I don't need his telephone number, and he doesn't need mine."
Yeah.
And I've sent him many emails and through his spam, and I've never ever heard back
Hmm.
from him. And I've even had people that work with him kind of like, and I've never heard back. And that was always one thing that
Hmm.
kind of bummed me out that I didn't network that day.
Yeah. Very cool. He's got to be the best voice of prog ever, I think. Don't you
I
think so?
Yeah, and as well, just his influence on such a huge music world, not only
Hmm.
on the fans that he has, but as well, I mean, like Bowie, that had an influence to so many different musicians that
Right.
chose music because of a reason of them being inspired by someone so heavy and so hard, which I'm sure that Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix and guitar players, Jeff Beck,
Right.
these guys like were in like they not only did their own music, but the things that they did to other musicians that affected the world, the planet. It's just it's that's an amazing
It is amazing.
characteristic that all those artists have.
He's like, I mean, Phil Collins was like you. He had to take over, for Genesis, but he did a good job because
Yeah,
one of my favorite albums is Trick of the Tail, and that's an amazing album.
yeah. Phil, well, the band is what a progressive, talented band Genesis.
Mm, they really were.
Yeah.
I've had Steve Hackett on the show many times. I had just had Chester on not long ago. I just had Jacko from King Crimson, who's another one
Yep.
filling somebody else's shoes. It's
Well,
it,
funny enough, with Genesis, the way that I was introduced to Genesis, especially at my age and with the upbringing that I was in, I was introduced to Peter Gabriel's So record as the first record I'd ever
hmm.
heard from Peter Gabriel.
Hmm.
I'd never heard any. That's the first time. It was on the radio, Sledgehammer, big time. I went and bought the record. It was a huge influential record in my life. And because of that record, then I went back and listened to Peter Gabriel's previous solo records, and
Right.
then got turned on to Genesis.
Yep.
And very much like Yes, I was introduced to their very pop record that Trevor Horn produced,
Hmm. Yep.
which was much later in their career. But that was the first record that I'd ever heard from of Yes. And because of that record, then I went back and listened to all of, same thing with Rush.
Hmm.
Moving Pictures, was that a Rush
Yeah.
record?
Yeah.
Right? That was the first record that I had ever heard of from Rush. That's those times, those records are the ones that I was introduced to. And then I'd go back and research the artists.
I had Alex on not long ago, Alex Lifeson. He's
Wow,
got
cool.
the new band he's got now is it's progressive rock and it's incredible. Envy of
Wow.
None. Envy of
Imagine
None.
imagine
Yeah.
being the guitar player in that band.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being the guitar player in the Police.
Yep.
You're there with this bass player, singer, and this
Hmm.
extraordinary drummer. And the guitars, there is lead and all that, but the guitar is such a canvas instrument between
I know.
those two particular
Hmm.
facets of music that just, yeah, those are great guitar players.
I'm kind of sad lately because a lot of rock stars are gone,
Yes.
and a lot of the people I've interviewed are gone. A big bunch of them, and it's sad because I spent time with them like I'm spending time with you. We get,
Yep.
we have great conversations, and then they're not here anymore, and these guys are my heroes, right? Just like you,
Yeah.
right? They're your heroes,
Yeah.
you know?
It's definitely and as well, I guess um in reflection too, that as we get older, that happens more and more. At the
Yes.
same time, it's a tragedy in the younger musician realm of the 20s and 30s musicians, and the amount of uh, people that end up passing away for people that are young
I
too,
know.
and it's a tragic state of affairs that continues to happen, and you got to really wonder what's going on. But thank God that we did have those initial influencers in
Right.
the influence of those great people in our life
I
that
agree.
as they go away, we um, guys like you and me can hold on to that.
Yeah. and their music lives on, you know,
Sure does.
it lives on. All right, PJ, what do you got coming up next? You got some more touring coming up, right?
Yeah, got to. We do a
I,
cruise.
go to Boston, right? The Blues
Yeah,
Cruise,
we do the blues cruise, but it's on the blues or on the blues something.
right?
With Justin Hayward,
Cool.
and that particular cruise normally we take from Orlando. This time it's
Hmm.
actually up to Nova Scotia, so I'm kind of excited about that to see how that cruise is different than being in Florida. Like I would imagine it's still going to be most the same people, but I bet you there are people that when they hear it's going to Nova Scotia are going to be like, I don't want to get on that
I
boat,
know. You're right.
right? So, and we got to also wonder then in comparison, is there outdoor stages like
Hmm.
there has been on the other cruises? So
Right.
I look forward to that. I have more Pink Floyd legacy stuff coming up in well, it's not actually called Legacy. I'm not sure what it's called.
Hmm.
It was called Legacy. I'm not sure what the future holds as far as, but it's a tribute. It's a tribute to Pink Floyd, which I'm incredibly grateful to go do. I have a feeling there'll be a lot more of those opportunities appearing. I have my own music that I'm just trying. I'm really trying to finish up and
Good.
put into a collection that then we can say, hey, over the next couple of years, we've got these 25 songs, 30 songs that are finished that can get
Hmm.
released, and we can kind of move and shake. I have some
Good.
ideas on how to make money again from the music industry, which in today's temper is difficult with
Yes, it
Spotify,
is.
Pandora, and uh, I think that I'll probably be looking for a much smaller amount of people to love my music that then can still pay for songs that when they want them, I end up figuring out a way to actually make money again.
I
Uh,
love your solo stuff, man. I really
I
do.
I really do too, and I appreciate that you're saying that because so much of my last 25 years has been singing for other
Right.
artists, and I really I do want to I do really want to continue with a proper reflection, whatever that is. So I look forward to you hearing it.
AT&T.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do that song because there's no recording of it.
Yeah.
Because when I would play it, like I would go into like offices and just play my acoustic and sing
Right.
by zine and do all that and just an acoustic guitar and I, even though I'm not the best acoustic player, when you put the two together, there was something super cool about it.
Yeah.
And the AT&T song is just like that. There's not a video of it,
You're
not a
kidding me.
recording of it.
You got to put it out there.
So I'm going to do it, but I'm going to just do it live with an acoustic guitar. Probably just give you a chorus, a verse, and a chorus, and call
Hmm.
it call it satisfactory at a minute and 10-second long song.
All right. That's
Yeah,
cool. That'd be
yeah.
great.
I'm saying that now, and I'm already writing a minute bridge. That's not related to the song at all. In the bridge, I'm going to break out a saw.
And get AI to do the video, you know.
Yes,
Yeah. I do want to say special thanks to Trinity of IM3 Global for
me
arranging
too.
this interview, and David. He was also responsible for this interview. He
Well,
said,
I say thank you for the rest of my life to both of them.
"Yeah, yeah,
Yes, very, very much so.
yeah." Trinity's pretty cool. I love her name, Trinity Houston.
Yeah, she is a force, and if there's anyone out there that's listening to this interview that knows Trinity, they will completely agree with me because you never see her with not at full force all the time. She's
Hmm.
just yeah, and personally has changed my career. I even have a savings account now. Just made me focus on a bunch of different things
Right.
and how to take care of myself better and
Good. It's good
just
to
have
have people
how to
like that in your life.
yeah how to have a better outlook and appreciate when the sun rises.
PJ, I forgot to ask you about the rock camp.
Okay.
What's happening with the rock camp?
Well, that's a very good question. I really loved doing the rock camp. I know the
Hmm.
instructors all really loved doing the rock camp. I know our community embraced, back up in Michigan, embraced rock camp very much. I've got kids that went through 8 years of rock camp that are out there
Yeah.
in bands and doing some all over the place in different facets of the music industry. And right right before COVID, it wasn't COVID that did it, but right before COVID, uh, we were having a hard time finding kids that wanted to work at being their best in music.
Hmm.
And like the 2 years before we stopped doing rock camp, it was really hard to find the kids that wanted to actually come to the 2 weeks, 8 hours a day,
Right.
have instructors that were telling them the rights and the wrongs of how they
Hmm.
were playing, because they didn't really want to hear the wrongs. They only really wanted to hear the rights. And
Right.
and so it was difficult. And I did go visit some high schools and things back in Michigan. The last time I was there, I visited quite a few schools. And when I was done, and I don't know what it is, but not one kid signed up for my camp except for my niece.
Hmm.
Like one child out of all those kids. And it made me think about, like, maybe what I need to do is have what I call like a little rockers, where
Right.
it's about maybe taking 26 to 10-year-olds, not having it so intense,
Hmm.
maybe just a week-long camp at 2 or 3
Right.
hours a day, and kind of plant the seeds in younger
Sure.
musicians now that get them excited. And I think that what I'm saying, probably most teachers and things with the age group of 17 to 24 or 23 right now are dealing with a lot of that. It's just a very hard group to educate. At least in music, it was for me. Um, I'm I so I would love to have rock camp again. And what we really need is the kids that want to make music
Hmm.
and want to perform together and want to work at it and not just be okay. Not being okay, but like really go in there and say,
Sure.
hey, if you're going to like take the time that your parents are going to drop you off here every day for 8 hours a day, and you're going to be in a band, then you're going to be in a band. And you can't be in rock
Right.
camp for 5 days and then say, oh, I'm not going to come Monday and Tuesday because I'm going
Right.
fishing,
And that
because
that
you've been
happens a
in a
lot.
band for a week and your band needs you,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's a commitment. So that commitment level is definitely something that we're looking for. And if we
Good.
have it, we will do rock camp.
Good. You should bring it back. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were here, I'd have 5 customers for you, my grandkids, all of
Okay.
them.
There you have it. Yeah.
They're really into music.
Well, and we just use music. There was kind of a mission statement that we had where it was empathy and compassion, were words that were being lost from our youth. And uh, I'm a big believer that when you make a kid work with his mind and his heart at the same time, it creates an incredible amount of security within them that pushes them forward to try things that maybe they didn't plan on trying. And it just happens to be that music is what I'm into, and that's what the rock camp is. If I would be into another profession, I probably would have started a camp that had to do with that profession, that
Sure.
just taught kids how to hold on to inspiration, because that's the real thing that we're trying to do. Is like, we're using music, but we're wanting to really have an effect on someone's life and keep them inspired, even when they're not at rock camp.
Right. But when you teach them at such a young age, man, that's the best way to do it. Because
Absolutely.
you did that, right? You started early.
I started
Yeah.
very, very, very
I
early.
took guitar lessons early too,
And
so
my first instrument was violin, and my poor brothers and my poor family, because it definitely took me 4 or 5 years before I could make that thing sound nice, and pretty, with a nice vibrato and things like that. The first couple of years of violin are
yeah.
treacherous sounding. But But
I
yeah,
tried the flute in the beginning and I couldn't master it. I kept getting head rushes. Just couldn't do it.
well, there's
PJ, I want to mention your rock camp. You do have a video out there, official website out there. There are videos about it on YouTube. I really hope you bring it back, man, because that's a great idea and it's so important for the kids. You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook. Of course, go to Alan Parsons' official website, find out all the touring information, Alan Parsons Facebook. I want to thank you, man, for being on the show today. It's been a lot of fun.
right. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate our honest conversation.
Give my best to Alan.
All right, I will.
All right, man.
Thanks for taking the time, man. Peace to
Have
you.
fun on the tour.
All
Take
right.
care.
Peace.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.